So this is what we are doing together. This is why we attend classes like this. This is why we give them too. Because a single one of those teachings will change you. Even though for a while the teaching is to train you in understanding the teacher. To learn the words and associate them to experiences. I told you this week that an experience is highly overrated. Do you remember that? Everybody's going for experiences, but if that experience was not fused with consciousness, it's worthless. And if that experience was so profound and rich for you that you hold on to it, then you'll be stuck there. You won't progress. As a metaphor, I invoke that an experience is like a hair from your head just falling. It's as important as that. It'll get on the floor and you'll clean it up like everything else with the trash over time. What matters is not the experience. It's what the experience reveals, the Dharma, and the consciousness of it. An experience is an incarnation of Dharma. For some of you, it seems to be costly to invest money to have only one of those teachings. I agree. For some of you it is costly. For that reason I accept people for free. So that you might give less donation than suggested. It's okay. You'll understand why in a moment. As we cover the next little chapter of the Diamond Sutra. Just remember that a single moment like this saves you suffering in the long run. How many pills will be saved that usually would avoid the pain? How much time and energy invested in some medicine or various therapies? If we have a single moment of being a better being, and the butterfly effect in our life is all of that is better afterwards, as the new moments of now succeed themselves, undistinct one another. I understand that for the ego it is a challenge to be reminded of its futility. But if for that reason you pay attention to something else than the teaching, I will respect you and I will just walk away. Thank you. Severity in virtue. It's important to know where your mind must be, because you will try to avoid understanding properly the meaning of the following chapter like any other before. Your human is filled with potentials that act in ways to sustain themselves. They want to persist, they don't want to end. Do not be hard on yourself and angry at your ego. Your ego is you. Just integrate what doesn't want to progress. I'm giving you the speech on how important every one of those teachings are, so that you will take the time to slow down your mind and pay attention. How important each one of those moments of Dharma And if they were not important, if they bring you nothing, then you'll just trash them. Use me as a tool, then trash me when I'm not useful. I'm okay like this. I don't want to have more value to your eyes than the experience of your own awakening. But while I'm useful, the tool should not be in the trash. Understand that? I'm just a tool. But when useful, must be contemplated. Morning candy. Too long tea. Thank you. Breathe and relax. The investments you do to get to some wisdom that allows you to grow. The time, the money, the energy and the effort, the attention you invest in experiencing a new level of Dharma with me or any other teacher. No competition amongst the master. That does not exist. It is so important to invest yourself little moments, and as you feel like it, bigger moments. For some of you it's another day of Dharma, but for most of you here, this is the 9th day of a 9-day series. And humoristically, someone called it the 9-day Mahathon. I like that better than a boot camp. There's a guy in Mexico who made a print shirt. I survived the 9-day Mahathon. Woohoo! You know I love humor, so that's good. Just be careful what you would manifest if you would go more sarcastically. He printed a shirt for me for when I'm tired, and it was written, I'm in a state of semi-Maha, I'll be back soon. It was funny at the time. I never wore the shirt. I washed it before, focusing on it shrinking, so I could justify. I threw it away because it was too shrunk. But it was intentional. So that the other would not be offended. Oh, I never wore it. Why? Because it shrunk too much. Because this person would take it personally, because this person is not there yet in its integration. To understand that if he suffers something, it's his own attachment and control that makes him suffer. So out of compassion and respect, I have a good reason, but I would never wear a shirt that says I'm in a semi-state of Maha. Regardless if I'm tired, I would never give less than what I can give to you guys. When you invest so much, travel, and hotel, and planes, and food, and everything, for us to be here, it's not just the suggested donation for the teaching, it's all the cost of society for you to come here. It's a pilgrimage, that's why. I will always give you as much as I can without hindering my health, because you are doing the same. Read. I'm already teaching on the 4th chapter since the beginning. Let's read it now. If you remember yesterday's teaching, moreover, Subhuti, when a bodhisattva practices generosity, he does not rely on any object. That is to say, he does not rely on any form, sound, smell, taste, tactile object or dharma to practice generosity. What does that mean? It's complicated, huh? When you have not been inspired the meaning before, it seems to be a bit cryptic. You don't practice generosity on smell? Of course not. I'm giving you $5. It's not about the smell. Well, it's tactile then. It's about giving you $5. Well, maybe the generosity is giving $5 to someone. It's a very limited way of practicing generosity. But it is the first way you must practice it to understand its mechanics. It's not about the Dharma or the sight that you saw and you gave it. It's not about what you have perceived in any way. And what does it mean? It's not even based on the object of Dharma. It means you're not even giving $5 because you felt it was the best, or because you were told, or because it is wise to do so. It's not even for that. There's another reason, another motivation inside for you to practice generosity. And if you practice generosity, then you conceive that in some way something exists. An experience exists, a consciousness exists. And that there's a being practicing generosity, therefore it is not illusion. But whatever is real is not anything that you have perceived of that generosity. Let us proceed to the next step. That, Subhuti, is the spirit in which a bodhisattva should practice generosity, not relying on any sign. Why? If a bodhisattva practices generosity without relying on any sign, the happiness that results cannot be conceived of measured. Subhuti, do you think that the space of the eastern quarter can be measured? No. Subhuti, can space in the western, southern, and northern quarters above and below be measured? No. Subhuti, if a bodhisattva does not rely on any concept when practicing generosity, then the happiness that results from that virtuous act is as great as space. It cannot be measured. Subhuti, the bodhisattva should let their mind dwell in the teaching I've just given. The last line, the bodhisattva should dwell on the teaching, suggests that the teaching will not be easy to grasp unless you dwell on it. But then there's also the concept of dwelling that is involved. Come back to that later. The first aspect is that generosity, not relying on any sign or object, is the greatest feeling of happiness that can result out of any action. He says that the happiness is a result. So happiness is a side effect, an output, a comeback. It's something, the result for something else. Charity without sign. Let's say you open a door to someone and someone goes through quickly without even mentioning anything about it, like a thank you. Do you feel offended? If there's a beggar on the street and you give $5, he just takes it like this and walks away. Like if it was taking for granted your generosity. Do you feel offended? Let's go even further in your personal life. You devote yourself to a cause and you try to make everything better, and everyone got better because of your implication. And without payment of any form, without a salary, without a gratification, without any sign recognizing that you have been generous. they discard you and they would even not give you something in return. And you then expecting to have a thank you or being a part of a group that you just helped, they push you away and they go on their own without even mentioning in any way that you have done something helpful for them, although it's obvious they know about it. Would you be affected? To invest yourself and to give what you have to give and receive no recognition whatsoever for your implication, would you be affected? And the answer is probably yes. Unless you're a tent bhumi or pratyeka Buddha, you probably would be affected. Because even in the good intelligence, there's a conception of the mechanics of the world that conceives that you should be receiving for what you give. Read. Something is moving inside you, an emotion, a reaction to generosity. How hypocrite are you to give in order to receive and call it generosity? To open a door in order to receive a thank you so you can feel good and call it generosity when you're actually purchasing attention. To invest yourself for someone else's help and expect a recognition, a salary, or anything in return. If it's your job or if you're doing it for money, make it clear. I need to earn a living, I'll do this for that amount. It's a business contract and it's absolutely appropriate and even encouraged in nature for that to happen. Everyone should live out of something. But never call it generosity. Generosity is the fundamental hypocrite behavior of human beings, because you will use this to play the role of a savior. And if they don't give you the attention you expect, you will become a victim and they will be persecutors. Read. A bodhisattva is generous, free of what will come back out of that action of generosity. And then you help someone cross the street and they move on to their way without mentioning that you helped them. And you're angry at them. If your generosity causes you suffering, you should stop it. Isn't it logical? It is completely appropriate to receive something out of an act of generosity. But any expectation or hope that you would get that return is arrogance. This is a lesson of parenthood. Nature made sure you would get this wisdom. Through parenthood, you give to your child, you give to your child, you give to your child, and the child turns and complains that you're not taking care of them. And you laugh and you smile, because when your child grows, when it finally knows how to walk and then how to run and how to jump on various platforms, how to make their own breakfast, and you feel as a parent, if you are wise and compassionate, the pride, look at what I've done. I'm so happy of what I did for that other being to progress and grow. And the satisfaction is not for the other little being who will become a teenager and shut the door with violence, angry at the way you were being generous with them. This teaches you how good you feel when you see your children accomplish great deeds, because you know it is mostly because of their effort, but partly because you were there to give him the means to make that effort, or to gain the skill, or to grow in that competence of being alive here. Referring then to, it's not a person and there's no lifespan, but that's another teaching. Every metaphor has a flaw, so please don't use the other dharmas to destroy what I'm trying to teach. If you bring something to someone, it is for you to feel good about it. Does it feel good when you help people? And to see that you have done something that others feel greater? And then you're so proud of yourself, you know, the good pride. There's two prides, because the word is mischievous. The good pride is the self-satisfaction inside. I'm proud of myself and it regards no other. The bad pride is hoping that others would gratify you for that. Look how good I am and I need someone to validate it. Then that pride destroys you. It is the worthful ego that tries to gain value. Get rid of that value system. It doesn't exist. If you get rid of the principles of value, you'll never feel worthless again. Or worthful. It'll be over. And you'll be back into the state of virtue as a bodhisattva. Doing what you can without hindering your health or your livelihood, if you're that greedy. So that others gain something, and you'll do it only for others to gain something. And your satisfaction will be the look upon yourself. Look at what I've done. I feel so good about it. And when you let go of this principle of value and you don't need any sign to confirm you were charitable, then only based on the pure action of charity you feel so great and wonderful. The happiness that results out of a pure act of charity, not based on any sign or object of that charity, is the greatest happiness you can feel, and it cannot be measured. Because you feel so great. It valorizes you inside. It gives you a meaning, a purpose to exist, whatever that word means. It gives you a base to be conscious of really what you are. Because finally what you are is what you have done and what you feel inside. And nothing is projected outside anymore. No more arrogance, no more hatred, no more hypocrite purchase of attention or love, or manipulating others into liking you. And of course the people you are charitable with, most of them will come back with a positive feedback. It is okay, it is good. But your attachment to that feedback causes you suffering. In the fourth plane of consciousness, like the Buddhas mentioned, and the Kabbalists too, in the fourth plane, dimension starts to happen. And what is fun with that fourth chapter is that the Buddha speaks of dwelling, so of going somewhere, with your consciousness of course, not with your body. And he's not speaking of astral travel, he's speaking of pondering. But there's also a mention of the measuring of space and how unmeasurable it is. Immeasurable, we say in English. That refers to the dimension of Dalet and the origin of space and time on the fourth plane and the fourth step. And what is the virtue for the Kabbalists of the fourth plane? Equity amongst all being, to give without measure. Ah, same teaching. That's fun, huh? For those who are Kabbalists, that's very fun because it is the same reference to dimension and space and the infinite and the coming into the world and the actions that you will do for the benefit of all beings and have a perfected state of being on the fourth plane, fully conscious, individual, yet complete. And achieve the greatest states of being. In the third chapter, like we seen yesterday, Sakyamuni was teaching of, as a Mahasattva, those who experience oneness and greatness. Guide others to get to experience the same liberation. You understand that? That's the third step. Out of compassion is perceived in a state of unity. And now the same teaching, as a Bodhisattva, you'll do it locally in events of charity. And from the third plane to the fourth plane, you go from oneness in universal attitude to fourth, localized, step by step, butterfly effects. One charity there, and you made this person's life better forever. You know, $1,000, if you had $1,000 right now, you could waste it in a big hangover for you and your friends. Or you could invest it in some equipment, some tools, some facilities that would change the way you live. Therefore, $1,000 has the potential, energy and consciousness to affect the way you live and how better you can be. And that will have a change forever in your life. And if $1,000 is stolen from you, whatever you would have done with that money is now out. So whatever you are not gaining in new infrastructures, or in savings, or in retirement plan, whatever you're not using right now, has a butterfly effect of diminishing something for the whole of your life. Although it's material, so it's not that dramatic, but it's still enough is inspiring as a metaphor to give you an idea of what I mean. So this means that $500 makes some kind of change too, but less apparently dramatic than 1,000. That means that 100 would also have this kind of change. That means that $5 also, and then a single cent, a single penny. That means that a single act of charity, how little it is, has an effect and reorients the whole of the world. If you understood it with $1,000 more and $1,000 less, for it to be big enough for you to conceive the possibilities, yes, that makes a difference. Then the other is just too small for you to perceive, but a single act of charity, not based on an object or a sign, has the same level of change effect. The principles of the fourth plane is equity, virtue, where every being should have the same level of dharma or experience of wisdom to access every resource equally. Therefore, charity is whatever more you have than the average should go to whoever has less. Charity is the localized action of giving. Equity is the principle of unified access to resources and dharma and experiences and wisdom and happiness. And then on the seventh plane, charity happened under the fourth. Because charity is an action that tries to reach equity, and equity is the higher principle here. In every direction, Sakyamuni suggested that charity should be practiced and dwelled upon. Not clearly in words, but in a chapter the wisdom is complete. If everything is taken into an experience instead of an interpretation, it becomes rich and it brings another level of depth to the understanding and the feeling, the consciousness, the inspiration as a human. Virtue, virtuous action, is charity with no object. Charity with an object is giving $5. It's belief you should do that. It's helping someone. It's doing something precise where you have defined charity is that. Charity is getting a receipt for your IRS, your income tax report. And charity is that thing. Charity is giving in a precise way that you have defined and limited in that little channel of closed-minded thinking. And of course, giving money to the poor is also charity. But there's a reason it doesn't give the highest level of bliss. It's based on an object fixed in rules and why you should do it in a certain way and what you'll get back. A receipt from a certified government or non-profit organization. Is it that? You understand why I don't have a financial structure? And when the donation is given, it's given to whoever organizes the event. I just come and go. We get together, we make it possible, and then I'm off. And they use that money to cover the cost, and then that's it. Do you understand? And I live off of donations of people, and I don't give receipts. If you want a receipt, please don't give it to me. Don't give me a donation, for example. That's the way I practice it and force you to achieve that. I won't give to the Maha because the Maha doesn't give back that thing that allows me to save money. Well, how much income tax you would pay? Well, don't give 100, give 85. I don't know. Just manage it in your own mind. But the idea of your charity based on an object or a sign, I will never endorse that. Unless out of respect for law. We're in a country where it is legal to give something to someone, but no proof. Anyone can give $1 million to someone. Well, I'll never receive $1 million. Would be fun. A lot of dharma would be given to the world, but nonetheless, it's okay. Those who give thousands in one shot, I would bow to them. I would give them a sign back. And I do most of the time. Usually they're in person, or they make sure that they can also, you know, instead of giving 5,000, I'll give 3 and make sure I can go to the next boot camp, you know, for example. There are some who give large amounts like that. And I do take time to mention it to them. And then, if they do something off track, I will be severe with them as much as anyone else. Look, that was arrogant what you just did. Are you really proud of what you just did? Were you angry this week? So there was this guy thinking he was purchasing his way out of the teaching. And he said, I'm going to give money to Maha. It's going to be so cool with me. He'll go in, he'll invite me to the restaurant. I'll be closer. I'll purchase my presence with the master. First night, hey, you want to come eat with me and the priest? Usually, you know, I like to be around the priest and those who did their homework. She's like, all right, word. I get to spend time with Maha. And start telling him, okay, so you remember that comment you gave to your wife a few days ago? And she went crying into her room. How the fuck does he know that? Who told him? No, that doesn't matter, that doesn't matter. Do you remember that comment? How did you feel afterwards? Oh, Maha, I felt so bad. Breathe and contemplate it. Being right, although you were convinced to be right, being right was a cause of suffering. Because of violence that came with it. was just talking, but still, you know. Oh, Maha, you're hard on me. And then in the ego, I gave him all the money and now he blasts me in front of everyone. Oh, so I see that reaction. Oh, so now you're ashamed that other people's knowing that you're a normal human and issues to resolve. So you have that to integrate too, the shame of people knowing that you've been a bit too intense with your wife. And his image is like destroyed. Well, if you eat with me, you take me at the level that I teach, man. If you come with me, you're at the level of a priest devoted to growing, and you would like to know everything you could resolve in your ego to get better in your own life. I've never seen them again. Knowing I would chase away from me people with lots of money because they were purchasing my attention, the presence of a great master that they believe is so extraordinary, and you know, to uplift their standing in the group, status, yeah, or you know, the privilege of accessing the master. Good, you have access to the master. This is what you want. I'm going to give it to you. Bang, resolve that. Resolve that. Look at your ego. What is? Were you compassionate? I mean, you want to hang out. The priests try for a better, virtuous level of being. And those disciples who are very reverent, I tell them to stop being reverent until they really understand why. Never to give admiration to a master until they feel love. So then we're just in love. And we still keep our distance, because then there's those who pay because they are in love, like more into the copulative part of the interpretation of that being in love, you know. Maybe I'll have access to the master in various ways. They too end up with a heartbreak at one point. Well, I'm going to teach them how to resolve rejection in their life. I have to cause it first. Well, they gave me the tools. What, like if I was a whore, you could pay me to have sex? That's completely ridiculous. To believe that you could guide someone in your heart or your bed with an apparent charity action, hypocrite charity. Do you understand? So I'm just using these various metaphors and, you know, how do you call it, anecdotes that happen. Because it happened to me. It's people trying to base charity on an object or a sign. And I can't accept that. I won't refuse it, but I won't accept it. And you should do the same with yourself. You should be severe with yourself. Each time you can, do a little action of charity that won't change your livelihood or cause you suffering. That won't modulate your lifestyle. That won't cause you to become sick or affect you in any dangerous way. Just to train you. I'm going to do something out of pure charity and not receive anything in return. For whatever you hope to receive out of an action of charity diminishes the happiness you get out of it, because you gain pride instead. Oh, outside validation. The more outside validation you get, the less inside validation can progress, can flourish. So you let go of the outside validation, you just do it. And then you're angry because you do a lot of effort for Maha to get something or for the others around, and your devotion to everyone. And then you think, no one recognizes all the work I've done for everyone, and they're getting great benefits. They can pay attention to the master while he teaches because I brought water to everyone and I printed the sheets and I do all that, and no one recognizes all the good things I've done. Well, you should stop being so dependent, socio-affective dependent you are to get the outside validation. So it will allow inside the contemplation, I'm so satisfied. of all that I've done, for example, in the seminar time, the 9 days we've been together. For everyone could contemplate more their own experience and grow, because I was in service. I didn't have to take care of everything. Find your own satisfaction. I assure you, for everything I'm doing, devoting my life to people's happiness, I don't get any level of validation that could compensate what I do or what I give. I don't want it. And when I get sick or when I grow weak, then I need to receive. And I'll find a way to receive the little things I like. Spend an afternoon on the PlayStation. Drink a little bit of alcohol, but not too much. I don't like to abuse. Just a little tad of a little something. Nice tea in the morning. That's not because I want recognition for the action of charity I did. No, they're distinct things. It's not because I did what I had to do and now I deserve receiving. No. I gave. Now my ego feels the need to receive, needs an input, so I'll go find a way to receive that input. And usually it's in futile entertainments that don't last. Video game, cards, magic. I play magic with some of my disciples. We enjoy it. But it's not to receive as some kind of gratification for what I gave. It's a completely distinct thing. I need to feel I get something, I'll find a way, and I'm not taking from anyone. I'm also the one that gives to myself. I take time, and I do the things that I enjoy, free from anyone else's implication. And if they want to participate, actually they feel great about it. And then some of them have this misconception. Oh, it paid off to be in service all week. Now I get to play magic with the master. No. I'm playing magic with you because I feel like it. Has nothing to do with what you gave. You should find your own satisfaction for what you gave. Do you understand this idea of object? On what you will base your charity. Of course your charity will flow through when it becomes localized in a manifested action or event. It will flow through one of those objects, but it's not based on it. It's based on the happiness. And it's not based on any sign or any kind of return or any indication that you were charitable. But just what you feel about it. Okay? And when we give that teaching, when I insist on it, you have an emotion. And that emotion is your value lost the game. Your worth lost. You don't lose worth. Your worth that tried to compete to gain something out of the world, it lost the game that it was playing. Read and feel. And then you contemplate the arrogance that you have to pretend to be a great being towards the others when all you wanted is validation for your own worth, because you are not autonomous enough to get it on your own. Hypocrite beings we are, all of us, until we dominate nature. Now don't be too hard on yourself. You're not an evil person for misunderstanding charity. You're a normal human being doing your best. And you are great. You are a great human being for doing your best. It's okay. Never blame the world anything. And if you do anything to be in balance with the world, hoping that the world would keep you in balance out of their own accord, doesn't work. You want to receive, make sure you receive. Give to yourself. You want to feel great and useful. You want to feel valorized, participating to society, participating to other people's growth. Do it on your own terms, based on only the feeling that you feel good for doing it. And if you can combine it with your job, it's wonderful. You get a salary, but you're also happy to participate to the growth of the business, of the people who will eat that food you're preparing or serving. You're cleaning up, maybe your life is cleaning up the environment. So you're doing it because you're happy that people can have the clean environment. And of course they walk into this building, this restaurant, this place, this hospital, the warehouse or whatever you were cleaning. And they walk there taking for granted that the place should have been cleaned, without ever recognizing you were the one cleaning it. And that is how you can find that pure happiness. Finding a way that people will take for granted whatever you do, and you do it only for the sake of doing it. Little trick I give to train you, for your boss to take you for granted, give 5 more minutes, not on the paid paycheck. Or 10 or 15, not more than that, because then it becomes ridiculous in the terms of your agreement with your paycheck. But give 5 to 15 minutes more for free, without, clank, without putting it on the bill, without putting it on your schedule sheet, or whatever was the agreement when you were supposed to finish working. Give 5 or 10 or 15 minutes more. Not the same amount every day. Just finish something. And don't expect anything in return, and allow your environment and the business to just not even know about it or take it for granted. Do it for them to gain something, for no reason, other than you are participating to the growth of that business, or the cleanliness of the place, or the health of the people, or the well-being of them. Just do it for that. Not a big thing, just a small thing. And train yourself. And when you're angry that you're taking for granted, look how much you still wait for outside validation, and how much you have forgotten why you were training doing it. And when they abuse of you, look how much you still want to be important as a human being to other people's eyes, because you feel so abandoned. And then go and do your integration. It's not 3 weeks of paycheck you're losing, it's 5 minutes at a time that you just give, just to give it. It's a nice trick, eh? You'll see how much something resists inside you that doesn't agree. That's your greed. You are so greedy. I'm not supposed to work. My boss is greedy. Ah. If your boss is so greedy, you don't dare give any more, not announce more of your charity, because he's so greedy, and you can't endorse his own greed also. Because he's greedy, you're going to endorse your own greed. Because the others are greedy and don't deserve that charity, you will invoke that in order to not be charitable. Trick yourself out of that projection. You will invoke anyone's vice not to become virtuous. Ha! Find a place where you'll be taken for granted, and go and give and come back with no return, with nothing as a sign to gratify you. Break that idea that other people's greed makes them not to deserve your charity. Break that. We say in French, I don't know if you have it in English, charity well made starts with yourself. You have something that's similar to that?
Charity begins at home.
Alright? So we say charity begins with yourself. Okay? You first have to care for yourself before you can care for others. So, if charity begins with yourself, pride begins with others. Go tell others how important and great they are. And stop trying to be yourself. That's not false humility. That's to cause the awakening of what reacts to that. What needs to establish a social standing. You can't be a great master eventually if you have not resolved that. Because once you are in my position, you will want people to bow and acknowledge how great a master you are. And if there's an ounce of potential inside you that wants the others, the students, to signify how great you are because of the teaching of liberation you brought, you will be the cause of your own downfall. You can't be a master of others. A master is someone who masters himself, and that's it. There is no authority. In society, there is a need of hierarchy for its functional purposes. Nothing without a hierarchy survived. No species without a way of acting, of organizing, survived. These species are dead. They don't exist. In every group or species or type of living beings, there is a sense of structure or organization, and we have it as humans, and it should be that way. It should be. And then when I give this speech, there's tons of people, yeah, but Maha, the government, stop there. You're going to bitch the government. You're going to just find a way. I understand the government is made of human beings just like you that still have not achieved perfection. Just remember, when you blame someone outside of you, the government is a reflection of its people. And to finish the teaching of equity, if your society or your government does not threaten your life immediately, then there's no base for revolt or revolution. There is base for peaceful manifestation to signify what you want them to hear. Peaceful manifestation. Go tell them in peaceful, compassionate ways with affirmation and strong opinions. Not being right about everything. Just say, well, this is what we want now. But there should be no violence, no aggressivity, no revolt, no pain given to those who manage your money and your laws. If they're not doing so right now, and then you will argue, but with the healthcare service and the insurances company and the way the money is managed and the decisions they make, it hinders our health on the long run. Yeah, I know, understand. But if you don't have a gun on your head to force to elect them, like in some countries it happened, if your life is not threatened in the immediate manifested way, your government is a reflection of its people. And you are the one who need to work on greed, not the one you have reflected in the hierarchy. That's hard to hear. That's humiliating. When exactly 50% of the population plus one human is kind to the other, you will get a government where everything is based on your well-being, taking care of one another. Don't blame the government for stealing if you have never stolen yourself. Or if you have stolen yourself something. There's never any reason to blame. You can't blame like that. Alright? All of this is about how much you want to be gratified for how great you are as a being, but then through that gratification of the outside, you lose your own feeling of happiness. Because you're not really useful, you're just purchasing love from the others. Alright? Do to the others what you want to be done unto you. And don't expect that they will ever do in return. Thank you. We'll have a little break now.